Fred Moskowitz. Welcome to the Fieldswell Podcast. It's a pleasure to have you on the show today.
Thank you, Lauren. It's great to be here. Thanks for having me on.
Of course. So you've had a remarkable journey as an educator, best-selling author, and fund manager, helping countless investors create passive income streams. I'd also love to congratulate you on your new book, The Little Green Book of Note Investing.
Thank you. Thank you.
Yeah. So to start, why don't you tell our listeners a little bit more about you?
Yeah, I'd love to. So I started out in my life, in my career, with a very different road. I was a computer engineer, and right when I finished university, is a time when the tech industry was taking off, and that's where I went into. I went into the tech industry. And right around that time, we had the dot-com boom and the birth of the internet, and things were just exploding all over the place. It was real exciting times. And I spent many years working at different technology companies, startup companies. And what happened was it was a wild roller coaster ride. We had that dot-com boom, and then it was immediately followed by the bursting of the dot-com bubble and the September 11th terrorist attacks. And so it threw the world into this turmoil, and there was a lot of economic uncertainty as well. And it made me realize that I was taking this huge risk because I was relying on my paycheck from my job as my only source of income. And so that made me realize that, our paychecks from where we're working, they're very risky. People don't realize that. People think, oh, I have a safe, steady job. But in reality, at any moment, company can go under, company can get acquired. You could lose your job through no fault of your own. And so something that I've become very passionate about is developing other streams of income, other income sources. And so that's what led me towards investing. And so for many years, over decades, I did both. I worked as an engineer. I love that work, but then I also was doing investing as well. And that has over the years grown and expanded on many levels. And now it's my main activity is focusing on mortgage note investments.
Amazing. I think we've all seen how unpredictable the world can be.
Yes.
And so we had a conversation a couple of months ago about the importance of diversifying our assets.
Yeah, very true. Very true. Diversifying your assets, your investment assets in a portfolio, but also, Lauren, diversifying where your income is coming from. That's important too.
Yeah.
A lot of people, all they have is their employment, and that's it, and nothing else. And so I always like to talk about the idea of, hey, there's other things you can do, many different things that will benefit you and provide other sources of income.
We want to get people to think bigger, and oftentimes they just aren't aware of all the other options they have in regard to investments. And so something I want to focus on with you today is how our listeners can start to think of the psychology of money and developing a positive money mindset, because I think this will help them see more investment opportunities more clearly. And, as someone studying for a master's in psychology, I find this relationship between mindset, human behavior, and financial decision-making fascinating.
Yeah, this is one of my favorite topics. And as far as I've seen, it's something you don't learn about in school. I'd never hear about it. Everything is, the information's out there, but you got to go take your own initiative to learn about it. And so it's a great thing for us to be on the podcast today talking about the mindset of money, psychology of money. I love this topic.
So, for those who are unfamiliar, what does it mean to develop a positive money mindset?
For me, it is having strong beliefs around money, and it's no different than developing a strong mindset in
Mhm.
general. It's about your beliefs, your self-worth, and putting into action, having those influence your actions, the actions we take, the decisions we make on a day-to-day basis. That's what it's all about.
Yeah.
And there's so many sub facets of this.
Mhm.
Like we can talk about abundance versus scarcity,
Yeah.
or um, the way that risk and taking risks is influenced by our mindset. I mean, there's so much we
Mhm.
can get into,
Yeah.
but I always love talking about the idea of scarcity versus
Mhm.
abundance,
Mhm.
because that's a big part of limiting beliefs that I've seen that a lot of people have when it comes to talking about money. Some people are just petrified by it, where they avoid talking about it
Mhm.
altogether.
Yeah.
Um,
And
right?
I think that's something that is almost ingrained in us from our childhood, and it goes back to the conversations we had or didn't have with our family regarding money and how we came to understand it and form a relationship with money.
Yeah. Yeah, very true. But going against that, I mean, what's wrong with talking about money? Why do people shy away from that? What's wrong with me and a couple of my friends were sitting around um, in the evening, relaxing, having a conversation, maybe enjoying a coffee, or um, some setting like that, and talking about, hey, what are you investing in lately? What's
Mhm.
working for you? And
Yeah.
we talk openly about it. There's no shame. Maybe one guy says, hey, I don't know anything about investing, so I'm
Mhm.
going to close my mouth and listen to you guys because you know what you're doing. And
Yeah.
then you have one person over here that's doing stuff with stocks and
Mhm.
all that. Someone else that is talking about real estate.
Mhm.
I might be there talking about mortgage note investing. That's
Right.
what I do. That's what I'm knowledgeable about. And
Yeah.
so we have a great conversation, a great discussion. It's not
Mhm.
uh, about which is better,
Mhm.
or which is a disaster, but it's about
Mhm.
sharing ideas, and then we learn from each other,
Mhm.
and it opens up perspectives, and you have a good civil discussion, civil discourse. It's a
Yeah.
great thing. Eh, Sometimes I feel like as a society we've gotten away from being able to do that.
For sure. And it's almost, as I think of it and I listen to what you're explaining, it's almost like when we think of money, it's something we have to like prove that we have more of, or that we're like good at knowing how to invest it or earn it. But simply putting that to the side and just saying, I can learn here, or I can share my tips and strategies. And it doesn't have to be this like taboo thing that's kept
Right.
in the dark. And that might mean that we need to deepen our relationship with money so that we feel more comfortable talking about it and learning more about it, because it's really important that we have this knowledge and are able to have these conversations.
Yeah, this is so important, and especially because none of this is taught in school
Hmm.
at all.
Yeah.
And so you have to self-educate. You have to
Hmm.
take the initiative to learn about it, talk about it. And so
Hmm.
that makes having these type of conversations even more important.
Yeah. And what I think of right now, it's similar to developing a growth mindset,
Yeah.
believing in opportunities, possibilities, learning more, getting comfortable being uncomfortable, perhaps putting yourself in a conversation or in a room with people where you're comfortable talking about finances, talking about money, talking about investment opportunities.
Yeah. No, absolutely. I couldn't agree with you more, Lauren. You just made me think of this great book about mindset by Dr. Carol Dweck. Where she talks about the fixed mindset or growth mindset, and that certainly applies to
Yeah.
our topic of money.
Hmm.
But Absolutely. It's important to have those conversations, get curious, get interested, and then the areas that resonate with you, go learn more about it. You could pick
Yeah.
up a book. You can get on YouTube and watch some videos. There's tons of content out there.
Mhm.
You can go attend events and conferences, workshops, and seminars to
Yeah.
learn. Those are all
Yeah.
educational opportunities. But it really reminds me of this quote from the famous speaker and educator Jim Rohn, who said that formal education will make you a living, but
Mhm.
self-education will make you a fortune. And this
Mhm.
is exactly what we're talking about
Yeah.
here.
Yeah. It's so good. Do you believe that money is energy? And I guess that's my first question for you.
Yes, absolutely.
Okay.
Money is energy for
So
sure.
then let's get into how, when we change our mindset related to it, that can actually change our relationship to money and our ability to earn, to invest, and to attract these potential opportunities to ourselves.
Yeah, absolutely. When here's let me start by saying this. Here's a common a limiting belief that I often see that people have is there's some kind of guilt around money, some kind of guilt around building and acquiring wealth. And the guilt is that if I uh, build wealth for myself, that's taking away from someone else. That's not leaving wealth for the other person. And that's so untrue.
Mm.
What if instead you start to embrace the idea that there's more than enough
Mhm.
money and resources for everyone?
Yeah.
It's all out there, it's all
Yes.
available. And all it takes is for you to put into practice the right habits, the right way of thinking,
Mhm.
and exercise that, and then you can acquire wealth. You can take steps to grow and become self-sufficient. And what happens is not everyone wants to do that, and
Mhm.
so that's why you see this over time, these huge disparities.
Yeah.
But that back going back to my original point was, when you acquire wealth, it certainly does not mean that it took away from someone else.
Mhm.
It's not a zero sum game.
Yeah, for sure. And I'm with you. I think it goes back to, this education is missed often in households, often in the education system when we are young, when we're learning. And so we don't know how to form a proper relationship. And this goes back to the abundance versus the scarcity mindset.
Yeah.
And I think the more you see potential, the more opportunity will come to you. And so I also want to ask you, what are the most common traits among individuals that you see who have successfully developed a positive money mindset?
Well, first of all, they put themselves around other successful people, right? It's all about who's in your immediate neighborhood.
Mhm.
And if you spend time around others, like the example I gave where was sitting around with my friends talking, if you're around other successful people, well, that's going to stimulate your mind and influence the conversations you have and the ideas you have and the
Yeah.
actions you take,
Yeah.
right? So that is one of the most important ones. It goes along with having good mentors, having
Mhm.
good support system, so that uh, when you encounter a problem that you're not sure how to handle, people
Mhm.
can provide guidance and support and help for you, which is huge, because
Yeah.
we can't do it alone in the world. And
Mhm.
so it keeps us from making mistakes.
Yeah.
It keeps us on a trajectory towards success and
Mhm.
with momentum as well.
Yeah. It's so true, Fred. I know we met through Los Angeles Tribune
Hmm.
and other masterminds we're part of. And it's about the environment you're in and the
Yeah,
people you surround yourselves with.
it is.
Yeah.
It really is. Through perfect example through that. That's how we met each other. That's how relationships get built
Mhm.
and introductions get made.
Yeah.
And so you start to grow your
Mhm.
network that way,
Mhm.
which is another aspect that is common, very common with successful people.
Yeah. And I think we can link network and net worth.
Yeah, absolutely.
Mhm.
Absolutely.
So, what are some practical steps someone can take today to start developing a positive money mindset?
Well, let's talk about the idea that money is energy,
Mhm.
right? So a lot of people, when they sit down to pay their bills, it's not fun.
Mhm.
Not fun for them. It's not a pleasant activity.
Yeah.
But what if instead of um, sitting there thinking that you hate this
Mhm.
and is my electric company charging so much and this and that,
Yeah.
why not be in gratitude that, oh, I have money to pay
Mhm.
all the bills,
Mhm.
and be happy that you're sending that money back out
Yeah.
into the world,
Yes.
into the economy where it circulates and changes hands many
Yeah.
times over. I mean, it's really fascinating when you think about this, about the velocity of money, which is a concept we use in investing
Mhm.
a lot. It's very common where, um, for us as investors, we want to have money circulating as quickly as possible. We don't want it to stay idle, because
Mhm.
when it's idle in our possession, it's not earning any return. It's not earning any interest. And so we always want to be having it work for us
Yeah.
as close to 100% of the time as possible.
Mhm.
And
Mhm.
so think about that when you're paying your bills is, hey, I'm stimulating the economy.
Mhm.
I am in gratitude that I'm able to pay these bills. I get to do this and enjoy a good life, enjoy a
Mhm.
stable lifestyle. Because
Mhm.
let's face it, there's a lot of people that struggle,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
so think about it from a perspective of gratitude. It's something
Mhm.
that
Mhm.
all it takes is to put intention on it and be mindful about it.
Yeah.
It doesn't cost you anything, and it's
Mhm.
something you could start to do today.
Today. You know what? I love this. And I wish I could remember exactly what the book was and who wrote it. But I recently read a book about abundance and a positive money mindset. And it was saying when you get a bill and you pay it, write paid on it and write thank you on the bill, because thank you, I have electricity.
Yeah,
I have internet, I have food, I have a home to live in. Whatever it is that you're paying for, be grateful that you have it, as opposed to resenting the fact that you need to spend money to pay for it.
yeah, yeah.
And it's
It,
just a mindset shift away.
it is. It's a mindset shift, and that's the energy you have
Mhm.
inside of you.
Yeah.
I love, as best as possible, paying bills right away as soon as I
Mhm.
get them,
Mhm.
so that they don't stack up.
Mhm.
When a bill comes in, even if it's due 3 weeks from now, I'll
Yeah.
just pay it now and
Yeah.
send it and get it
Mhm.
get it done. If I'm sitting down to pay bills, I want to get all. I'll do the whole batch out
Yeah.
at
Thank you.
once. Yeah,
Mhm.
and it's all about, hey, putting things back into circulation
Yes.
and being with the knowing that the money circulates and then it
Mhm.
comes back to you in a different from a
Mhm.
different place.
Mhm. And I think to have this belief system, and this is what I believe, that when you give, you will be given,
Yes.
as opposed to just holding.
Yeah. Yeah. So true. So true. And when you give, you can give. There's many ways to do that with money. You
Mhm.
can give time and attention. There's all different areas, but the curious thing that always happens is it comes back to you.
Mm-hmm.
It comes back to you, and usually it's in a different form than the way you put it out in the world, but it always comes back to you, and benefits you more. And so if you start out knowing and believing in that's your
Mm-hmm.
belief, then that's what you get to experience,
Mm-hmm.
right? That's what you get to experience.
Mm-hmm.
And so it's a great way to put things into perspective, I feel.
Yeah. So, Fred, what are your tips for individuals who are just starting to pay attention to their finances and feel lost as to where to begin?
Yeah, I always recommend starting in a couple of areas. The first one is look for ways to reduce your taxes, right? We all pay taxes. However, um, the government has a lot of incentives for taxpayers through incentives that are in the tax code to reduce their taxes. And it's on us to organize our affairs to reduce our taxes as best as possible, right? And so what comes to mind for me, there's two activities that reduce taxes, that do so in a major way. The first one is owning rental real estate, and the second one is starting a small business.
Mm-hmm.
These are the top two areas right in the tax code. If you do either one of those or both, you're going to get a lot of tax benefits, and that reduces your taxes. And so this is really impactful, because if you're sitting there in a tax bracket of 40%, which a lot of professionals, that are higher income earners, they're in that range, paying 30-40%. What if you were able to get dropped down by one bracket into the 30%? We went from 40 to 30. What does that do? Well, that
Yeah.
gives you now 10% less taxes that you had to pay. And that puts money right in your pocket. And then what you can do, now you have something to invest with. This is like
Yeah.
the easiest
Yeah.
and quickest results. It's, yes, you can do things to earn more money, but that takes a lot more work, and it's a lot harder to do. And, that can come later on. But I always say, look first at how can you reduce your taxes? You can start a business. So many people are into having a side hustle, having a small business.
Yeah.
The easiest way to do it is, if you have a hobby you love that you're already doing and you're good at it, is there a way that you can make a business out of it on the side and earn money? And it's something you love, you're passionate about,
Yeah.
which is fabulous. And so
Yeah.
you have a lot of synergies working together when you do this.
Yeah, I love it. It's all connected. And so start the small business, start to earn money, invest that money, and
You
then
have money to
more money.
invest. Yeah,
Exactly.
you have money to work
Yeah.
with. Yeah,
Yeah.
because isn't that what people say? Oh, I don't have money to invest. I spend everything I earn. Well, if you reduce your taxes and you're still earning the same amount of money, now there's going to be this pile left over.
Yeah.
And if you are diligent and don't spend it on things, then you have that money to invest and put to work for you.
Yeah.
And you start to shift the momentum. Yeah.
So helpful. All the opportunities. What would you say is the biggest lesson you've learned as a fund manager?
The biggest lesson I've learned is um, that a big part of what we do is building relationships. And it's something that over time, it's grown more and more critical for me as a fund manager. Relationships with people in the industry we're in, relationships with investors, and speaking with them and sharing with them ideas and concepts. A lot of it is it comes down to the basic skill of of building relationships. And it's so important, so important for anything we do.
Yeah.
That's one of the biggest areas, I would say. But
Mhm.
there's so much going from being an individual investor to managing a fund. It really drives the importance of having good systems and processes in place, and using that to leverage growing a business. But think about it. I'm an engineer, right? So putting together systems and processes, that's right in my wheelhouse. So a
But
lot of the skills that I had from my technical background, they really have carried over well.
yeah, I just love it. The first thing you said, though, it goes back to the relationships.
Yeah.
And that was one of our recommendations on how to develop a positive money mindset was focus on your environment. Who are you surrounding yourself with? What is the information you're consuming? Look at the conversations you're having. Look at the individuals you're spending your time with, and how they're spending, saving, investing their money, and learn.
Yeah. And learning,
Yeah.
be around successful people,
Mhm.
because you're going to pick up a lot of good habits. And the
Yeah.
same is true in the negative sense. If you hang around people that have poor money habits, that
Mhm.
are serial bankruptcy filers, and just have all kinds of problems,
Mhm.
what kind of habits are you going to learn from them? Well, you're going to learn how to live beyond your means, spend more than you earn, and
Yeah.
build up consumer debt that snowballs, and all of these things that are not healthy from a financial perspective. And so it really matters. It
Yeah.
really does.
And even for those who feel like, I don't know who to learn from, I don't have a mentor in my life who I feel like has, a great relationship with money, you can find this in books, in podcasts. So, what are some recommendations of books or podcasts that you'd like to give our audience?
Oh, wow. Um, there's so many. There's so many. It really comes down to what specialty do you want to learn about? Do you want to learn about tax strategies and how to reduce taxes? There are people and podcasts to follow for that.
Mhm.
If you want to learn about starting a small business, there's tons of resources available. You
Mhm.
have podcasts. You have an organization called SCORE, which is you can find them at score.org, and they exist all over the country. And it's a volunteer organization that provides support, mentoring, and resources for people that
Mhm.
want to start a small business. And that's a wonderful resource. I always
Yeah.
love directing people to that.
Yeah. So helpful. Thank you. And as we begin to wrap up, is there anything you'd like to leave our audience with today?
Yeah, absolutely. I want to encourage everyone to really, if you're getting interested in investing, one of the most important things when it comes to mindset is um, how do you handle risk? If you have a growth mindset where you're focused on growth, then you're going to view risk as an opportunity for growth and wealth creation instead of something to be fearful of.
Yeah.
And a lot of people have fear of risk. Well,
Mhm.
I'm not saying to go out and be reckless by all means, but understand how to evaluate risk and manage it and mitigate it, which is something that comes from experience and learning, and
Mhm.
um, the support system you have, the people around you.
Yeah.
But there is a path where you're able to take on risk that you're comfortable with, and it's calculated in a way that is going to expand your growth. Let's face it, if you sit on money and don't do anything with it, it's not going to grow. And
Mhm.
it's actually going to shrink, because over time, inflation will erode the purchasing power of your money. And so
Mhm.
you certainly don't want to do that. That's why it's not a good idea to put money under your mattress or bury it in a coffee can in your backyard, the things that people do.
Yeah.
So think about that. That's an area with mindset is learn about risks. There's risks everywhere we turn in life. There are risks. So what things can you do to set yourself up for success to mitigate those risks?
View risk as an opportunity for growth.
Yeah.
Fred, where can our listeners find you?
Best place to reach me is through my website. You can go to fredmoskowitz.com. It'll take you to my website. There's information about my book on mortgage note investing. You can reach out to me. I have a special report on investing I'm happy to send out. And if you prefer a little bit easier spelling of my name, you can go to giftfromfred.com. It'll take you right to my website. I always love connecting with listeners, connecting with investors, and getting in touch and building relationships. It's a huge part of what we do every day.
Wonderful. Thank you so much for coming on today and sharing your wisdom. I'll link all of that in the show notes.
Thank you, Lauren.